learning about drawing inferences, and we'll be finding inferences and figuring out how to draw inferences by using a concept enhancement routine. The concept enhancement routine I chose for drawing inferences is the concept mastery routine. And I want you guys to remember on the board that I have some expectations that we should still follow today. Number one is to keep our voices off while I'm talking. Follow instructions, stay seated please, and raise your hand when you are trying to answer a question. And be sure to ask questions so I know that you are understanding or if you are confused. So, things that we have talked about already are main ideas and some supporting details to find in stories. And so, for our new topic of inferences, our definition is to reach conclusions. So I'm gonna give you some examples of how we can reach some conclusions, and I want you to see what you can infer from these conclusions, from these examples. If I say someone slams a door, what do you think that person is inferring to? Like, what do you think they are doing, or why they're doing it? Yes, Paige?
Because they're mad.
Correct. Yeah, they might be mad. So you can say, I'm inferring that this person might be mad. I have another one. Someone is holding a baby, some diapers, and a bottle. What can you infer from that person? Paige?
Their mom.
Yeah, they could be a mom. Correct. So I have a diagram that we're going to fill out today, and it's called the concept mastery routine. And so when we are filling this out, concept is our main thing. So we have for each letter, I have like a definition or a way to help us figure out what inferences is and how we can draw them. So for C is to convey the concept name. And to convey the concept name, you're just like telling us what we're doing. Like we're drawing inferences. And for O is offer the overall concept name. So inference is what we're looking at, and the overall concept name would be to draw an inference. N is note the keywords. We're going to find some keywords that can help us find the inference in a story. And that could be like supporting details, main ideas, characters. We'll have another list when we fill out the diagram. The other C is to classify the characteristics. To classify the characteristics, we're going to see if the things are always present, sometimes present, or never present. And for E, we're going to give some examples and some non-examples to see what you can look for in the stories and what you cannot, and what are some examples that that does not describe an inference. And P, I'm going to give you a new example, and you're going to tell me what you can what you can infer from that example. And T, we're going to just tie down the definition and just get a simple and broader definition of inferences. So to start off with our diagram, I'm going to have you guys get out your diagram that I gave you yesterday. And at the top, you see this box that has a number 1 in the corner. And that's going to be the convey the concept. In that box, can you guys please write inference? So that is just telling us what we are doing and what we are trying to find out, like our word, our definition, our word. For number 2, there's a box, and it's to offer the overall concept. So we have inference, and to find like a better, longer term instead of this inference is to draw inferences, to take away or to find. So in that box, can you write to draw? / take away from. When you are done, we're going to go through some keywords that will help us find and figure out what the inferences are in the story or a sentence. Paige, do you remember one of the keywords that I listed off?
Oh, sorry, no.
No, that's okay. I'll remind you of some of them that we were talking about earlier. So our first one that we could do is like conclusion. Like we're gonna figure out why the characters are doing what they're doing. So in the box 3 for keywords, you can make like a bullet point, and we're gonna write conclusion. Okay. Another keyword that we could use to find inferences is evidence. Within our sentences, there's going to be some type of evidence that will help us infer why the characters are feeling the way they are feeling. So under conclusion, can you write evidence? In a story, for our next keyword, in a story, what are the people called? Not like the narrator, like Paige.
The characters.
Good job. So that's going to be another keyword that we will need to figure out an inference. So under evidence, can you guys write characters? Okay, I have 2 more. What is, when you're looking at a story, what do you have to find to know what the whole story was about? Do you know what that word means? That word is? Paige?
The main idea.
Good job. So under characters, we're going to write main idea. Okay, our very last one are things that we need to find an inference. They're called supporting details. So like random little clues that will help us help us draw our inferences from the story. So under main idea, we're going to write supporting details. Okay, after we have our keywords, we're now going to go and find our characteristics. So those are the always, sometimes, and never present. What do you think we always need from our keywords while we are trying to find an inference in a story? Would it be conclusion, evidence, characters, main idea, supporting details, or it could be all of them? Paige?
Evidence.
Evidence. That's a good one. So we can write evidence under always present. Another one we could do is conclusion, because to find an inference, we have to reach conclusions. So under evidence, we're going to write conclusion. Let's do one more. Do we think we need main idea more or supporting details to reach conclusions?
Supporting details.
Yeah, supporting details. Good job, Paige. Okay, those are things that are always going to be present when trying to find an inference. Some things that are not sometimes present would be like characters, because sometimes you don't really have characters in stories. Sometimes they can just be about something. So under under sometimes present, we're going to write down characters. And for the next column, for never present, I put like characters' names or like small details that we don't really need to know. Like if Bob was, we don't really need to know like Bob's name. We can just know him, he, or they. We don't really need to know like their pronouns. So under never present, you can write character names. Okay, now that we have step 4 filled out, we can start going to our examples. So I'm going to use the example that I asked Paige before, is someone slams a door. So if we write under example, the first bubble, someone slams a door. Paige, do you remember what we would infer from if someone slammed the door?
They're mad.
Good job. So under the example, we're going to put someone slams a door. And we can even put under that, infer that they are mad. Okay? Another example I have is someone makes a weird face after eating something. What might you infer from someone making a weird face after eating something? Paige?
That tastes gross.
Oh, yep, tastes gross, or something that they just may not like that food. So under our second bubble, we're gonna put someone makes a weird face after eating something. And for our last example, I have someone yelled for help. What might we infer that someone is wanting or why they are yelling for help? Paige?
They're hurt.
Yep, they can be hurt or they just need help in general. So under our last, or they might be in danger too. So under our last bubble, we're going to put someone yelled for help. Okay, now that we have all our examples, we're going to go through some non-examples. So our non-examples won't have some evidence or conclusions to why the characters are doing what they're doing in the story. My first non-example is, my cat has been scratching at the door for an hour. So they have been scratching at the door for an hour, but do we know why? No. So that would be a non-example because we don't have the conclusion of, we haven't concluded why they have been scratching at the door for an hour. So under our first non-example, we're going to write, my cat has been scratching at the door for an hour. Okay, our second non-example could be like, Sally left the store without change. Like without her change from the cashier. So we could probably infer that she missed it, but does the sentence tell us why, like what happened after, or why she would have maybe left it there? No. So that could be a non-example. So under our second bubble, for non-examples, we're gonna put Sally left the store without change. And for our last example, I have Casey is at bat for like a baseball game. So does it say what he's doing or where he is at bat or why he's at bat or like any other evidence we have? Nope. So that could be a non-example because it's not giving us enough information to infer what we are trying to figure out. So for our third bubble, we're going to put Casey is at bat. After we have all these examples and non-examples, it says practice with a new example. So that's number 6. So we don't really have to write anything down because there's not a box there. So for our new example, we could put the one that me and Paige talked about earlier. Someone is holding a baby, diapers, and a bottle. So what did we infer from that sentence? That they are a
Mom.
Good job. So that would just be our new example that we're practicing with. And for our T at the bottom, it says tie down the definition. So that means just we're gonna, from all this information that we're doing, from our keywords to our characteristics to our examples, we're gonna make a definition that is easy for us to understand. So for inferences, what do we think we could use from our keywords to tie down a definition or find a bigger definition? We could take conclusion and evidence, since that seems to be one of the main two keywords that we've been using. So if I were trying to write a definition, remember, go back to the definition I gave you, was to reach conclusions. How would we add evidence into that? Okay,
Use evidence to reach conclusions.
good job. So under that, in the box that says tie down the definition, we're gonna write to reach evidence and conclusions. Not reach, to find evidence and conclusions, and reach conclusions. Okay, that is all we have to fill out for the concept mastery, routine mastery, the concept mastery routine diagram. And so using these diagrams, it really helped us figure out what we were looking for when we see the word, if a question is on a test and says, what can you infer from this story? We can now know how this diagram is helping us to understand what to look for when we are trying to draw inferences from a story. So it is easy to break down the meaning of a concept and make it easier to understand. We figured that out by using our keywords, our characteristics, and our examples. Does anyone have any questions from today's lesson about inferences? No? Okay, good. Paige, can you tell me one thing that you have learned today?
I learned that we need to draw inferences and read stories, know what's going to happen with the characters thinking.
Oh, good job. That's a good one. So for tomorrow, we are going to continue working on inferences and finding them in short stories out of our literature book. And for your homework today, I'm going to have you guys write a paragraph and try to write in 3 inferences in your paragraphs. And we'll look at them tomorrow. You don't have to have them finished, but work as hard as you can. Perfect. Thank you, guys.